We are live, ma'am.
Okay.
So I'll start, ma'am.
Yes,
Sure.
please. Go ahead.
A very good afternoon to all the participants who are a part of this webinar today. Um, as a team of IHM Bhubaneswar, I would like to introduce our guest of honor today, Ms Sangeeta Gandhi, who will be with us and enlightening us during the webinar on the topic of operations inside of hotel industry post-COVID. I would like to ask my principal, Ms. Sharda ma'am, to give an introduction speech and introduce the guest of honor. Please, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Preeti, and a very warm welcome to all the participants and a warm welcome to our invited speaker, Ms. Sangeeta Gandhi. Thank you so much for coming, Sangeeta. It's a pleasure to have you, on this virtual platform. Um,
Yes.
As the principal of IHM, I would actually like to join hands with Usha ma'am and other faculty in congratulating you for all that you have achieved so far, and we wish you all the very best. It gives us pride to be part of the institute from where actually you started, and great to have you today. And I'm sure all our students will have a lot to take back, not just from what you speak today, but a lot to take back from the journey that you have traveled so far, and and I'm sure you will also enlighten us on as to how challenging it was to climb the ladder and be here as VP OCLD, which is a very prestigious position, especially for all the youngsters. Over to you, Ms. Preeti, to take the webinar forward.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to introduce the guest of honor today. So, Ms. Sangeeta Gandhi is currently the Vice President of the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development, that is OCLD. In her capacity, she is responsible for a wide-ranging management portfolio, including the management training programs, systematic training and educational program, and a wide range of learning and development initiatives in the Oberoi Group. Ms. Gandhi completed her diploma in hotel management in 1992, after which she joined the management program at the Oberoi School of Hotel Management, now called the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. She holds a postgraduate degree in Human Resource Management from All India Management Association, Delhi, and a certification in Executive Leadership from Cornell University, Ithaca, New York. She has undergone certification training in competency mapping and is a certified MBTI Myers Briggs type indicator practitioner. Ms. Gandhi is a certified coach recognized by International Coach Federation and has achieved a certification in instructional design too. Her area of expertise is in behavioral skills training and leadership development. In her current role, she ensures that the associates and the trainees get a holistic training to help develop their functional knowledge and skills and enable them to develop their personal attributes and leadership styles. With a total work experience of almost 27 years, Ms. Gandhi started her stint with the Oberoi Mumbai in 1993, and in 2000 she joined us as a training manager at the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development, where she is currently the vice president. Apart from her professional duties, Ms. Gandhi loves reading books of all genres. She enjoys listening to Indian classical music and looks forward to exploring new places. She also promotes awareness campaign on the need of organ donation India. Over to you, ma'am. Please enlighten with the knowledge about the industry.
Thank you so much, Preeti, and thank you to Sharda and to Usha Ikka ma'am for extending this wonderful invitation. As I keep saying, it's an honor to be an alumni of the IHM Bhubaneswar, and it's truly every interaction, every moment that I've spent at the IHM during my tenure as a student and subsequently in my interactions with faculty, team members, and every visit that I have to the city and to the institute, I think it's unforgettable and something that I truly look forward to. So anytime I get an invitation from IHM Bhubaneswar, it's extremely difficult to say no until or unless there are certain contingencies which come in. So having said that, thank you so much for that extended and a wonderful welcome to all the students who are watching this, and to all the faculty members and other people who are also plugged in. Warm good afternoon to all of you. I know in the last few months, since the time that the pandemic has happened, there have been there is a flood of webinars that are available, and you must have attended many of them. And for the students, on one hand, where I see this as a great opportunity to be interacting with a number of industry leaders who have varied perspectives on the situation and how things are evolving and what is going to happen in the future. So it's a huge amount of learning that you're going to get. But at the same time, it's also pretty easy to get confused because there are so many differing views, uh, for the simple fact that there is no pre-existing data with which anyone can make any sort of a prediction or try to even formulate a probable hypothesis to say this is what may happen. So in view of all of that, I'd like to keep it highly interactive. I did mention to Sharda that I do have a presentation ready, but the idea is not to do that, not to take you through a presentation, but keep it very, very interactive. So I'll be extremely happy if you can ask questions. The, that's the best way to keep the engagement on at both ends. And true enough, 27 years of experience in this industry, I can't say I've had it all and I've had it enough. I think there's a lot more to see and a lot more to do, and particularly because of the pandemic. But very quickly, since this did come up in the introduction, so let me just quickly just talk to you about my journey, and there onwards a little bit about what's happening with the industry from the industry perspective, from a learning and development or a training perspective, and there onwards what is the role that you can play, the students primarily, and most importantly, as I said, questions and answers and any doubts that you may have. So my story has been very, very simple. It is not a very something that people would like to really write a book on, but it's definitely one that has taught me a lot. It has helped me grow both as a person and as a professional. And the foundation of all of this was laid in IHM Bhubaneswar. It is important for me to let you all know that I never planned to be a hotelier in my life. In those days, the only courses one would talk about is engineering, medicine, and at the most, a BCom or a arts degree. Hotel management was not something that people would talk of, would definitely not encourage ladies and daughters to get enrolled in. And yet here I am. Uh, why and how did I come in amongst all the entrance exams that I gave? The IHM entrance exam was one other, and when I got the selection offer, and for the to be very truthful, I didn't really make it to an A category science college, and so as a result of which I didn't want to compromise. I didn't want to go to a lesser grade college. And despite the fact that I had no clue, no idea about what the industry is all about, what my job is going to be all about, what my career is going to be all about, I just took the plunge into this industry. And my first opportunity of clear learning came when I was selected for the Oberoi School of Hotel Management, which is now the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. And having done my housekeeping program, I was working in the Oberoi Mumbai, then came to the Oberoi New Delhi, at which point in time I switched gears and I came into training. And from there on, I've taken on various roles, various assignments. For a brief period of time, I was with Hilton New Delhi, which is currently the Lalit. and then came back to the Oprah Center on the other side of the table this time, and subsequently have grown, and the organization has given me enough and more opportunity to evolve myself. So that, in a nutshell, is who I am and how I landed here. But however, it's very important to remember there are a few things that you always relate to. So what is it about this industry? When I walked in when I was a student at the IHM, it just looked like a lot of fun. It really didn't look very difficult. It didn't look like you had to study hard. It didn't look like we had to work very hard. There were a handful of hotels at that point in time. And when I say handful, not literally handful, but really not the kind of numbers that we have today. And so, it very small batch size. We graduated a batch of about, I think, 37 people. So with that kind of a group, there was a lot of bonding. There was a lot of, relationships, which we are still on a WhatsApp group, um, very closely connected. And as I'm speaking to you, a number of notifications are popping up on that group because each one keeps sharing about what they're doing in life along with their family, of course. So a lot of relationships, a lot of bonds were created in this place, and hence a lot of memories. These were the times where our interaction with our teachers, our lecturers was also extremely high. Now you can imagine, with 35 people, it looked like all teachers were just looking at us and at nobody else. So there was never a moment when you could clearly do something incorrect, get into mischief. But at the same time, the relationship that we shared was purely of a coach, of a mentor, somebody who would guide us, and they did that job beautifully. Uh, were we scared of what we are learning? Yes. Sometimes things looked very bizarre when you're told about the difference between a grape from France and from Italy. In those days, it just didn't make any sense, because a grape is a grape. How does it matter? But today, having spent all these years in the industry, I connect back and I understand that all that learning was truly essential. Um, why did I choose housekeeping? So there was a point in time, yes, where I was interested in food and beverage, but unfortunately, what we've all done, and I say we because I think the collective responsibility rests with the entire industry, we've made food and beverage look very, very big and very, very difficult, as a result of which students are not too keen to join. And somewhere, probably, that was one of the reasons why I chose housekeeping. It's not that I didn't like it, or it's not as if I didn't like food and beverage, but it just looked so much more fun to do. And it was a great learning ground, because you get to see what many people do not get to see. Our guest interactions are definitely high. The ability to ensure that all facilities are, well maintained, well kept, and presentable, clean, hygienic. All of that was really challenging, because all this, in those days and right up until, I think, February of this year, all that had to be done behind the scenes. All the cleaning, all the sanitizing had to be done without the guests coming to know of it, so that when they stepped into this area, everything looked spotlessly clean and safe to use. It's a different matter where we are today, but I'll come to that in a little while. So housekeeping has given me a lot of opportunities. It's one skill that I would definitely attribute to housekeeping, is the ability to plan and organize. Now, I'm not saying that the other departments don't do that, but with the kind of resources, multiple resources that one has to deal with, I think a housekeeper is best equipped. And if you're not well planned or organized, it can actually create huge hurdles for all the other departments in the hotel. And so, truly, the lifeline, which has always stayed behind the scenes, and in a way, I'm really happy that it's now coming to the forefront, that we have taken on the center stage, and people can see that how critical the role of housekeeping is all about. So that is how the housekeeping journey began. And learning and development is something that comes quite naturally to me. I love interaction with the youngsters, for the simple fact that their perspectives and their uh, ideas to how things should be, their ability to innovate, their ability to think out of the box, problem solving, all of those, they're really challenging, and it just helps you to keep, abreast with information, data, knowledge, systems, processes yourself. And because it adds value to me, every interaction with the youngsters is a great, a great moment, and something that I really cherish. And that's what gets me going through the day. So to move from my background now to very quickly on the industry, where are we? Really, you've all been reading. As I said, you must have seen hundreds of webinars. You must have spoken to another hundreds of people, and your own teachers, lecturers must have given you an insight and understanding of what's happening in the industry, and what can probably how it will work out. There are varying theories. No theory is right, no theory is wrong, because a situation like this never existed. What we are experiencing is for the first time, and probably, so I look at it as a great, it's given us, this pandemic has given us a huge opportunity to do things that we had always thought we wanted to do, that we would always dream about or talk about, but never really got down to doing anything. And so fortunately, from that perspective, I think the COVID situation has enforced a number of things, least of which is, or depending on how you look at it, the use of technology is another one big area, no doubt. But beyond the technology itself, I think we are doing a lot of things, both at the industry and at the college teaching training level. And I'm sure as students, you would have experienced this. As teachers, trainers, lecturers, I'm sure you're sweating it out day in and day out, trying to match up to the pace. So it's an opportunity, if well utilized, is going to be extremely beneficial. I will just take another couple of minutes to just talk about and specifically address the students, because I keep telling everyone I meet that the way we started the lockdown, think back to the day of who you were, what you were, how you were on the first day of the lockdown. And now let's move forward and look at the day when you will actually be stepping out in the open and resuming normalcy, whatever that definition of normalcy may be. Uh, if you as an individual have not changed, then somewhere something has gone wrong. And if why I say this is because if we continue to be thinking, behaving exactly the way we did prior to the lockdown, and which means that we have done nothing and learned nothing over the last 4, 5, whatever number of months it will be before we step out. But evolution and growth and mental growth, learning, has to be done. I hope that it has happened with all these interactions, with all this amount of reading, hearing that you've been doing, the studying you're doing, research you're doing. I hope that has opened your mind, and that you have started to think differently on a few areas, if not all. And that's why I say that it's important that there should be a change in the individual who started the pandemic and the individual who is going to be seeing the closure of the pandemic. So, how are things changing in the industry? From an industry which is known for its hospitality, warmth, and smile, we are now moving to what is known as contactless service. Now, what is a contactless service? Everybody is wearing masks, everybody is wearing gloves, uh, where there is a safe distancing that is taking place, whether it's in the restaurant lobby, wherever, whichever part of the hotel. And so, with all those restrictions in place, how do you still exude warmth and friendliness? How do you exude service? How can you anticipate what your guest needs? When you've got to stand so far away from the guest, when you've got to stand so far away with a mask on your face, when you've got to talk to the guest, it's not a conversation that's happening between two of you. Probably other people in the vicinity can also hear, because your voice has to be raised a little bit. So how do you ensure privacy? How do you ensure warmth? How do you ensure hospitality with all these restrictions in place? And that's a challenge that every single hotelier is trying to deal with as we speak. Is there a given formula? No. You take off the mask and the smile is visible, but we can't take off the mask. So how do I still tell the guest that I'm happy to see him or her? Uh, so we are all learning, and the best part about what this entire pandemic has also probably got the entire industry far more closer than it ever has. The interface between colleges and industry, the interface between different players within the industry, the interface between policymakers and the people who do the teaching training and the end users, which is the hotels or other business operators. I think all that has improved significantly since the time that this pandemic happened. And so that's very big hope for all of you students, because when everyone works in an integrated manner, the all the stakeholders stand to benefit. And the students of hotel management are definitely one of the key stakeholders. So, yes, there are challenges aplenty, but are we dealing with it? Definitely, and in a very, very proactive way, we are dealing with it. It's already resulted in some, wonderful reviews and feedback from the few guests who have ventured out and are staying at hotels. And needless to say, there is a lot more to do and a lot more to learn. But the best part is, I think, it's brought to the forefront the importance of um, well-being and safety, security, cleanliness, and hygiene. Some of the basic factors that influence hospitality. So, as my introduction, that is what I would like to say. The disruptions will continue and the challenges will be there, but how we deal, how we cope with it is what the exciting times are all about. And it's been the most satisfying last 4 to 5 months from a work perspective. The amount of work that we have done, what we have achieved, I'm extremely happy and very, very proud of my team for having delivered all of that. But more importantly, I think this is a time where we all needed to work hard, and we have. So I sincerely urge the students also to do the same. So I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have or may continue to share a few more insights. But any questions at this point in time, anybody would like to ask?
Ma'am, we have certain questions in the chat box.
Okay. Uh,
So Nilanjana was asking, what
right.
special methods and techniques are followed to uplift the hygiene start in
Okay.
hotels keeping in the present crisis situation?
Okay. So, what is it that we are doing? So, one of the best parts about this industry is that cleanliness and hygiene has always been an integral part of hospitality. Um, and hence, as a result of which, I think we just have had to scale up things a little bit, but not really work too hard. In the good establishments, the processes were already in place. But what we have now done is use of disinfectants has definitely gone up. Sanitizers has definitely gone up. Frequency of cleaning has gone up. So those are few things that we have definitely increased and enhanced. And also in terms of employee safety. So the people who are going to be doing the cleaning also need to be protected. So there's a lot of emphasis and work that has happened on that front as well. Uh, there are various, well-established uh, companies which are manufacturing disinfectants and such other things, cleaning agents, etc. And so that relationship continues. Almost every large organization that I know of at this point in time has signed up with uh, one or the other audit firm who audit in terms of cleanliness and hygiene standards. And that's something that's been happening very stringently and very regularly. And I think that is like you do a standards audit. Similarly, these hygiene audits are being done by many organizations. And these are things that you will get more and more familiar with once you're industrial training starts and you start to visit hotels. You will get to learn and know about it. And to me, it looks like for in the near future, it looks more or less like an ongoing process. We will continue to do that, and so you will experience it. I hope that answers the question.
I'm sure, ma'am, that answers Nilanjana. We have another question by the same
Please.
person. What
Yeah.
are the special standards and techniques being followed to uplift the hygiene standards in Oberoi hotels and resorts, keeping in mind the present crisis situation?
So, well, if I start narrating all the standards and the measures that we have taken, that's going to sort of cover up this entire the rest of the time that is allocated for this webinar. So, unfortunately, I will not do that. Um, what I would definitely recommend to each one of you is to please visit the Oberoi Hotels and the Trident Hotel websites, the main websites. There is a section on the COVID-19 situation and updates related to that. Once you click on that tab, you will get access to all the standards that have been introduced in all the departments in order to ensure safety and well-being of our guests and our team members. All cleaning practices, all measures that are being taken, including safe distancing, etc. Everything is captured there. So I would strongly urge you all to just visit our website to get a better understanding of what is it that we are doing. I can assure you that one of the first things that we started to work on as the pandemic started to pick up was to ensure start constructing all these processes so that both our team members and our guests are in a safe environment.
Thank you, ma'am. That was enlightening. We have another question. What are
Please.
the measures that Oberoi hotels and resorts have been taking care of the staff members?
Okay. So again, as I said, the answer to the previous question is applicable here as well. If you go onto our hotel's website, you will find complete details about the measures we are taking with employees as well. So, like any other organization, for example, thermal check to ensure body temperature is appropriate or not, um, having oximeters in place to ensure oxygen levels are as per required levels. Those are just a few measures that we are taking. We're providing people with the PPE, protective gear, masks, gloves, etc., whatever is required depending on the work that they are doing. Ensuring that our own team members are maintaining safe distance back of the house, lockers, cafeteria, uh, you know, all the corridors, etc., behind the scenes. So, including our employee accommodations, we are taking a lot of care to ensure that people are living in clean, safe environments in employee accommodations as well. So, those are just a few things that I can talk about. And as I said, a lot of information is already there published on our website.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is what are the new normals adopted in housekeeping department in Oberoi's? I'm sure this question is pretty similar to the first two questions that you have answered.
Yeah, yeah, but I'd like to say something here that when everybody keeps talking about the new normal, really, I think the newness is now gone. It's got to be all normal now. Um, is life going to be what it used to be pre-COVID days? The answer to that question is going to be, of course, not for not at least in the immediate future. So the reality is that we've got to accept the fact that you can't continue in a lockdown phase forever and ever. And will a vaccine or a cure really help? I think a vaccine and a cure will surely bring about the confidence for people to step out of their homes and get into the usual lifestyle of interacting, meeting people, etc., etc. And so I see that, when you talk about the new normal, the normal is purely going to be how things are at this point in time. Maintaining that safe distance, washing hands frequently, wearing a mask and a pair of gloves. These are basics that I think should be maintained. Ideally, these are things that should have happened even pre-COVID times. And there are cultures in the world, there are countries in the world who practice this. Um, and the larger part of the world, unfortunately, never, for whatsoever reason, didn't agree to it. And Indians, particularly, we believe in a lot of, standing together, being in groups, etc. But there are countries in the world who never practice that, and today the evidence is there to see that their rates of infection are very, very low. So, what I'm trying to say here is that in terms of housekeeping, also, it is important that we don't let go of all the processes and the new ways of doing things that we've found out now during these times and go back to the old days. I think these things will continue to happen and should continue to happen. And we'll only keep evolving from there on. So you can't just say that I'm going to stop using a sanitizer because the world is free of COVID. I don't think
Yes, ma'am.
uh, we should take that kind of a call.
Yes, ma'am. The next question is, if any staff member gets affected in the hotel premises itself, what benefits and help will be given to the affected staff?
So when the staff, so as I said, one, we are taking a lot of preventive measures to ensure that none of our team members fall sick. We are encouraging people when they come to work to go back home and not to really socialize and go out elsewhere, etc. But having said that, for whatsoever reason, should anybody be infected, we are very clear and we are very supportive of the fact that people will stay at home and they will not report to work. Even if you have a minor cold cough, which is seasonal flu as it is also called, we do not encourage people to come to work. When they are coming into work, we take the temperature check and other physical checks that are done. At the slightest symptom that is indicated, we isolate the individual and all the people who have been in contact with that person. So far, we've uh, managed it really well, and we hope that the situation continues and that we won't be jeopardizing well-being of a larger group of people. So, and all hotels are tied up with very well established hospitals in their vicinity. There's always a doctor on call these days. So in terms of medical facility, I don't think any hotel, for that matter, any establishment, not just hotels. I think every establishment today has signed up with some some hospital or the other, and health providers, so that their team and their employees are well looked after.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is nothing related to post-COVID. Why still date OCLD is just like dreams for many, although very few succeed? How
Yeah.
can a student prepare from beginning, and what is the most challenging time in your own career?
Yeah. So thank you so much to the person whoever has asked this question. I'm glad you brought it up. Otherwise, I'd have mentioned it myself. I don't know why this hype and it's actually a myth that you can't get through OCLD and it's very difficult and all of those things. That's not true. Because if you ask me, we at OCLD would be more than happy to take more people. Unfortunately, we are not able to do that. And the reason why we are not able to do that is because what we look for in our people is something that is fundamental and basic to this industry. Uh, I will, if I have to use one word to describe what is it that we look for, I would say it is passion. And passion is, please understand that word is, I think, probably the most used and abused in various management jargons today. And the reason why I say that is because a reference to passion is basically something that you enjoy doing inherently. It comes naturally and spontaneously to you. You don't have to think, you don't have to apply yourself, you don't have to work hard, you don't do it consciously. It just happens. And the best part about passion is that something you like doing morning, evening, night, whether you're tired, whether you're not, whether you've eaten food or not, whether you've slept or not, whether there are guests at home or not, whether there's a movie you're dying to see, or a cricket match you're dying to see, you would still love to do it. You wouldn't be willing to give it up for anything. And something that gives you a lot of satisfaction at the end of the day. That is what passion is. So, do you have that kind of a commitment towards hospitality, towards hotels, towards working and serving people? Because if you have, trust me, you will do anything and everything that it takes to be a success. What we in the Oprah group look for is this passion. Are you really interested, or are you just looking at it as a career option, something to make money and the perceived lifestyle that you're going to get? Because if that's the reason you're coming here, the ability to sustain and have a long term career is definitely going to be short term. It's not something that will pay out. So passion is something that we definitely look for. In addition to all the basic fundamental attributes to hospitality, which is communication skills, smile, warmth. As an individual, how approachable are you? Do people want to talk to you? Are you engaging in your conversations? Those are some simple things that we look for. And as long as we find those attributes, we take the person on. So it is not true, and the reason why it may appear to be so high in terms of how difficult it is to get into OCLD, the number may look a little mind-boggling, for the simple fact that you've got so many IHMs today, and every graduating batch is over 100 students on the minimum side. And so, the competition definitely is higher. You've got so many private colleges now offering hotel programs. There are many companies, including us. We look for non-hotel graduates as well, just to bring in the fresh eyes and the new element. So, hence, it looks extensive to you. But if you were to be applying to a job today, I can guarantee you, whether it's for a KPMG or a PwC or an Accenture, Cognizant, Infosys, it's going to be the same. It's not any different from any of these. It's just the skills that are required are different. So, to answer your
Very
question,
true,
it's
ma'am.
not difficult to get to OCLD. You can make it to OCLD. You need to be clear. Your focus should be clear, and you will be able to make it. To talk about my own challenges that I've had as a student, I can tell you what I offer to the graduates, the postgrad students right now is, I think, far different from what it used to be when we were, uh, management trainees in this center. But times have evolved, and so there is no point trying to repeat and say that what I experienced as a student is what others should also experience. That's not true at all. We've evolved and moved with the times and trying to do things that's going to keep the students engaged and the students to be learning and delivering. Uh, so the biggest challenge, of course, is the fact that I find today's youngsters extremely distracted, and I, much as most of them immediately say there is the social media and there is this, that, and the other, I think that's not the only reason. It is just the fact that you've chosen to be distracted, because there are students who are extremely focused, who are on social media, who do go on to Netflix and such other stuff to keep themselves busy, but at the same time are also focused on what they want to achieve in life. And those are the kind of people who it's very interesting to work with. So I would strongly recommend, again, get the focus right, be very clear what you want to do in life, and then go about it.
Ma'am, I would like to ask a personal question to you, which is very
Of course.
related to what you answered just now. What are, since we see a change in generation like Gen X, Gen Y, and now the millennials. So, what are the changing interview styles for the present, current millennials who actually have a very active, or they cannot sit anywhere, and they're very pro uh, internet or online users. So for them,
Yes.
hardworking and be very persistent to work is something probably they cannot imagine. So how are we dealing, or how is the industry dealing with that part of the generation?
So, this is probably one of those realities of this industry, which anyone who wants to have a successful career has to be willing to accept. Um, but having said that, I think it's only eased to a large extent over the years. Where in our times, if you were, for example, if you're working in the restaurants, um, because you have to cover the breakfast, lunch, and the dinner, it used to appear as if you're there in the hotel all the time, every time. But now, all hotels of repute ensure that the restaurant people get their breaks, they get the time off, so that they are relaxed, re energized, and rejuvenated. So, where human resource processes or practices and such other things are concerned, I think I can speak for hospitality. We've, I think, taken all the measures that need to be done. Some do it, some do more than the others. But I think we have been able to cater to the young uh, age group reasonably well. The best part is because they come with so much of energy, and for the simple fact that they are so restless, it is, if the restlessness and that energy is channelized correctly, I think it gives off fantastic results, both for the individual and for the organization. And we've seen that many a time in our own setup. So it is the ability to channelize that energy, and each one has their own ways. So it is important to be able to uh, do work with a one-on-one. So broadly speaking, that is what hotels are doing. To come back specifically to recruitment and to interviews, again, at one point in time, it was one interview that decided whether you will continue, whether you've been selected or not. But not anymore. It is not just an interview, it's a series of interviews by different people at different times in different settings. There are also assessment centers that are conducted by different people, and activity based, that is basically, that's what it is. And so all those activities, all those interviews just help you take a better informed decision from an interviewing perspective. How it helps the candidate is that it's now not dependent just on one person and one interview. You have so many more opportunities, so many more rounds available to prove your worth and to prove yourself. And the moment you're able to do that, automatically you're, of course, you stand a better chance for getting shortlisted. So, from just a one point contact to multiple contacts to get a better information and allowing the student to perform, because on certain days, for whatsoever reason, it may just be your bad day and it happened to be your interview, you didn't get selected and you're done for. But today, because you have those multiple rounds with multiple different people, uh, you should be able to perform somewhere at some point in time. Even if you've had a bad day, the rest of the days can't, I mean, all days can't be bad. So uh, I think about it
Very
from
true,
that
ma'am.
perspective.
Ma'am, we'll go to the next question now.
Sure.
Um, how are we seeing this contactless gestures towards our respected guests in coming near future, and how we are taking care of it?
Sorry, if you could just repeat the question, how are the contactless?
How are we seeing the contactless gestures towards our guests in the coming
Yeah,
future, and how
yeah,
are we going to take care of it?
yeah. So I think one good thing for in that we had been doing as a standard process for our guest services in the Oberoi group was the traditional namaste. Okay, the namaskar is the standard form of greeting that we used to do. We had stopped shaking hands many years ago. So simple acts like that will continue. The biggest impact, I think, is with the mask is the smile is not visible. But how else can you communicate that smile? What is it that you can say and do which will tell the guest that you are happy to meet him or her and you're happy to be serving him or her? So, in terms of contactless, I think the body language, more than the facial gestures, has started to take on a significant importance. And so, your body posture, how you stand, how you sit, how you walk, is now even more important than are you even smiling or not smiling. Okay, that's one thing. Uh, just because a process is contactless, for example, let's say a check-in process, if that has been converted into an online format where the guest doesn't have to, where you don't have to interact with the guest personally on any count, it does not necessarily mean that there is nobody to welcome the guest or nobody to escort the guest or nobody to handle his or her baggage or there is nobody to show care and concern. So the contactless process exists, yes, where you don't have to ask the guest so many questions, where you don't have to have the guest touch, the touch points are reduced. All of that is there. But the way you can do it, that personalization is still required. The way your contactless, that check-in form that looks on your, whether it's on your phone or tab or whatever the guest is using on the device, electronic device, has to convey that personalization and that exclusivity and the luxury and all those things. So to answer the question, we are also we have those processes and every other thing in place, which is, again, as I said, it's already given on our website, but we are also learning and evolving. We are fine tuning because we've now, guests have now started to frequent, they've now started to step out. We were designing at a time where there were no guests in the hotel. Now we are implemented it, so you are learning as we go along, and there'll be a few more refinements before we can say that we've arrived at a process which is acceptable to both the guests and to us. But indeed, hospitality is extremely affected, not just because of the business volume of business that has been, terribly on the negative, but more so because we are unable to extend the kind of hospitality that we are known for in a country like India because of all these restrictions that are there. But at the end of the day, if you care for someone, you will do anything to ensure that the person is well. So it's the same formula that in the hotel as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is, what type of service will we do in F&B as there is contactless service
So
post-COVID?
yeah, I mean, the contactless service does not necessarily mean that there will be nobody to attend to you or nobody to speak to you or nobody to take to understand what kind of food you want and how should it be made and so on and so forth. All of that will exist, but as I said, yes. So the standard practice that is taught in IHM is that you have to stand close to the guest while you're pouring a glass of water, or close to a table, sorry, when you're pouring a glass of water or when you're serving the guest. So now you're not going to do it in that close proximity. You'll have to stand a little apart. You'll have to take the permission of the guest to say, are you okay if I were to come closer? Things like that. And of course, the restaurant design will change a little bit. The setups will change a little bit. So for the time being, buffets are something that is not being laid out at hotels. So those are the kind of changes that will definitely be there. But again, I'm coming back to the fact that it'll not stop. I mean, if you expect a robot to be taking over the role of a server, which is happening in many a standalone restaurant, in a luxury business or a leisure segment, that is not really going to happen, not yet. Okay, so you still have people doing the service. It is not mechanical robots who are doing that. So I see that to be to being done, a lot more thought being applied and a lot more conscious service being done, unlike previously where it used to be so automatic that we used to just go ahead and do it. We are now sort of doing it more consciously to ensure that the guest is not worried or is not apprehensive.
Ma'am, a question to add on to the same question. In the near future, can we expect some technological advancement in hotel industry which can cut down the manpower so that there will be a contactless service to the guest?
Sure. So I would not like to comment on the manpower bit yet because really, I think we are all discovering technologies and we are still learning to see if this is what we want. Every organization is viewing technology with the lens of does it uh, convey my or the organizational standards and the USPs that the company is known for. So I would not like to comment on whether the manpower will get reduced or not because of technology. But are hospitality companies looking at technology? Are they evaluating, are new technologies coming up? The answer is yes. In the own education, training, and development, look at just that arena. The amount of technology that is available, and it's not that they all woke up on the 1st of March or February of whatever date you want to choose as the date of the pandemic. These were there, but it's just that people had not adopted those technologies. But today, everybody is. So the technologies will continue to emerge, they will continue to be evaluated. They may get chosen to be implemented in certain organizations. And what impact will it have on manpower is something that we'll have to wait and see. In the near future, in the luxury segment, because we still continue to believe and hope that personalized service is paramount, I don't really see that getting disrupted too much. But we'll have to
Thank you,
wait
ma'am.
it out and see how it happens in the future.
Right, ma'am. So there's a question regarding the precautions like the PPE kits and the face shields. Are they being
Yes.
provided to the hotel families surviving inside the hotels? Also, what safety measures Oberoi is taking care during this pandemic? Now, a part of the question is already repeated.
Already, yeah. So the measures, as I said, I'm the only reason why I'm not narrating those measures is because it's pretty extensive, and I don't want to consume this entire time answering that. It is easily available whenever you're just surfing the net. Just take a few minutes to go onto the Uber Hotels website and go to the COVID-19 update section, and you will get all the information that you need. And might I as well tell you that a similar structure exists for every other hotel company as well. So you can, it's not just the Oberoi group, but any other group also, you can get that information. In terms of providing the PPE, yes, we are providing our employees with the PPE when they come to work. Because otherwise, then it's going to make life difficult for everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one of the student is asking, when can the hotel start the industrial training?
I wish I could give you a date. I wish I could answer that question because that's been playing heavily on our minds as well. But I think that there is no answer that can be shared at this point in time. So, with various cities recording various kinds of numbers, COVID cases I'm referring to, it cannot be one date for all. It will have to be city wise, specific region wise, perhaps. And of course, it also depends on the government and the state, both central and state government regulations that come in. All of that would have to be considered. So, sorry, I can't say anything more than that.
Ma'am, the next question that we have here is, what are the specific qualities an individual should possess in order to get through OCLD?
What are the attributes? I've already spoken about passion. You should be truly and genuinely interested in hospitality, and it should not be put on, or it shouldn't be that it's just for the day. It has to be something a part of you, and trust me, the panelists have a way of figuring that one out. Then the other attributes that we look for are communication skills, confidence, how well you present yourself, your the kind of vocabulary that you have. We also give a lot of importance to current affairs. And unfortunately, today's youngsters don't believe in keeping themselves updated on what is happening in the world, in the country, in the state, city. But this is something that is very, very essential. And more so in today's times where you need to know what is happening in every corner of the earth. And because there's so much happening, you have to know. Now, you can't limit yourself only to sports or to the entertainment areas, but knowing other information, other current events that are taking place in the world, political, geopolitical situations, business environment, economy, what is happening in that sphere. These are all things that one has to be aware of. The more you try to run away, the more difficult you will find to deal with it. So I would say that this is a great time. The pandemic is a great time when you are probably half locked up at home right now. But please make it a habit to read papers. These days, even if you don't read papers, there's enough and more ways of getting information. Please use those, learn to use your social media for getting authentic information, not fake information. Use podcasts, use news apps. There's so much available today. But make that effort, please. That is important. So, current affairs is one other element, and of course, underlying all of this is your functional knowledge and skills. So, how well do you know the uh, department that you want to be working in? You have to know at least the basic product and the basic processes. And wherever you've done your industrial training or any kind of hotel exposure, please be prepared to recall, recollect, and share that knowledge.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is the high job opportunity of this industry will still be there post-COVID situation?
Um, the optimist in me tells me yes, it will. It's a matter of time. We are going through a very, very rough patch, but are we hopeful that the situation will recover and that we will go back to the kind of business that we used to do, and hence employment and all other things coming into play? So the optimist in me says yes. Unfortunately, as I said, because we don't have any data or trends to follow or to pick up from, it is very difficult to predict when that is going to happen. So, is it going to be the next 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? Uh, every individual has their own take on it. But definitely, it looks like it's just for the stability to come in, it is certainly going to take the winter months as well before some amount of stability is arrived at. And from there on, we have to pick up and move forward. So it all depends on how confident people are to travel and to stay in hotels. And that will ensure employment numbers are retained.
Right, ma'am. What are the new techniques we have adopted for the cleanliness of kitchen and food and restaurant and bar section? How we can do contactless service in F&B department?
So again, if you want the details of what the Oberoi Group, or for that matter, as I said, any other hotel group is doing, just go on to their hotel website and you will get the new standards that are already in place. So that's one good way of finding out what hotels are doing in the food and beverage sphere. In terms of kitchen cleanliness, of course, food hygiene is as important as any other space. And so all the good hotels, good establishments have any which way adhered to all the, whether it is a HACCP or an FSSAI regulations or any other regulations. I think every hotel complies by it, as a consequence of which the standards were already in place. Yes, those standards have been enhanced in order to ensure that there is zero error uh, to the maximum extent that is possible. And so, again, wearing of safety gloves, wearing of masks, ensuring that you're changing your uniform, washing your hands regularly every half an hour, cleaning and sanitizing workstations or work areas. These are all things that are being taken care of. Sanitizing, washing and sanitizing of ingredients, which, of course, the kind of ingredients, if they can be done, then all that is being taken.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, here's another question regarding to OCLD. How
Yes.
should a student prepare for OCLD post-COVID? Will the Oberoi Group hire new recruits?
So as I said, as of now, our plans, we are still considering when to do it. So in terms of our recruitment, it's currently deferred because of the what is happening in different parts of the country, and plus also the fact that colleges have not resumed their normal cycle yet. So we are awaiting for that normal cycle to get established and for students to have completed their assessments from a college level before we decide what to do with the recruitment. So do you need to prepare? Of course you should. And that's not just for the Oberoi Group, I would say for any other company as well. Because campus recruitment, if not campus, but in some form or the other, it will take place. What do you need to do to prepare yourself? I've already answered that question. You need to have your focus in place. Please update your functional knowledge and skills, current affairs, know about the industry, about the particular hotel company that you're applying to, and of course all the other attributes of communication, confidence, self-presentation, grooming, etc., etc. So you get all these in place and you will be fine. You will get to know when we start our recruitment process. You will get to hear that. So it's too soon right now with so many things undecided, and we cannot be communicating an action plan yet.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question that we have is, if we find any guest with a higher temperature or the related symptoms to COVID, so what are the strategy to handle that guest?
So where the guests are concerned, we are being, in the best manner possible. We alert the guest saying that these are the permissible limits by the World Health Organization, and currently your reading is showing a higher uh, temperature, and so we have designated spaces where the guests are made to sit and wait. Sometimes it could be because you've come out from the hot sun, the temperature could probably be higher. So after a short span of time, we check again, and if it's still high, then we inform the guest and we recommend that the hotel doctor be consulted. If the guest agrees, we have the hotel doctor come and examine, and dependent on what the gravity of the situation is, either we escort the guest to the nearest hospital for proper medication and medical checkup, or we recommend self-isolation, in which case the person would have to stay separate. So, but now because travel is also so particular, everyone at the airport is getting checked. Uh, the incidents I don't think too many to handle.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is, what's the ongoing research and development activities undertaken by Oberoi Group? What is the importance of institute and industry interface need in post-COVID?
So when you say what is the research and development happening right now, it is not just right now, it is an ongoing process because we keep evolving and enhancing our service standards. So it's not something new or something different. Of course, the emphasis now is that whatever process we are looking at enhancing, we have to keep in view the hygiene and safety protocols. So that is something that is that we are consciously doing. Sorry, what was the second part to the question? There were two questions that you asked.
Yes, ma'am. The second part was the interference or what is the uh, industry and institute interface
Yeah,
regarding the
interface.
post-COVID situation.
So the industry and the IHM or the college interface is such that we are engaging with colleges more, and so the way I'm doing a webinar with all of you, there have been a couple of meetings where industry people have also been called to advise colleges on what they need to do. Vice versa, the ministry has called industry to say that this is what needs to be done. So there is a lot of things that we are working hand in hand. Uh, it cannot be a full scale in terms of involving students yet, because I think most of the colleges are not functional, as a consequence of which engaging students in certain projects or activities is not happening right now. But at a decision making and a policy making level, yes, there is a stronger engagement that is happening, whether it is with standalone restaurants, hotels, hospitals, other allied businesses. It's all taking place.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question that we have is, the students are quite worried about their placement and future perspectives due to the current situation. Will there be a dip in the employment in the hospitality sector and also especially with the Oberoi groups?
You know, yes, the times are not good and times are tough. It is under no organization in normal circumstances would be taking certain kind of calls and decisions that we've been forced to do so. So again, as I'm saying, we are hopeful that the situation will recover. It is a matter of time. To what extent will it impact? It is really very, very difficult to say at this point in time because it depends on how long it takes for the business to recover and establish itself once again. And because it is different in different cities, uh, I'm talking about the extent of the infection, the spread of infection, the way hotels and hospitality related businesses are performing in different states is also currently very different. So there is no one yardstick or one rule that can be applied to all these services and all these facilities. So to answer your question, yes, will the manpower be affected? I think they already are. So many standalone restaurants are not open yet. Bars, because licenses are not approved, so bars are not functioning to capacity. So yes, it will impact manpower, but we hope that it'll all come back. It's just let's hope that it happens sooner than later.
Yeah. The next question that we have is, which department do you think would be the best to prepare for OCLD? Is it housekeeping, as after this coronavirus pandemic, the major focus of the hotel will be in housekeeping department?
You know, that's a very unfair question to ask. And I'll tell you why it is unfair. Two reasons. From my perspective, it's like asking me whether you like your right hand or your left hand more. Okay, I love both my hands. So I can't say this stream is better than the other stream. It is unfair from the student perspective to ask that question because, just as I said earlier, you need to be clear about your focus and your area of interest and your passion. I can't force you to say just because housekeeping is prominent these days doesn't mean that your inherent skill set lies in food and beverage and you're applying to housekeeping just because uh, you want a job or that there is a career or whatever the reason may be. You're not going to last. You're not going to enjoy it. So how does it serve your purpose or the organization's purpose? So it's a very unfair question from that perspective. I'm again going back, go back to the drawing board, go back to what is it that you really enjoy doing? What is it that you really want to do? Where do you really see your career grow? And then work towards it. Don't go by where jobs are available because that then you're not going to be enjoying whatever it is that you're going to do.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll go to the next question.
Sure.
An employee usually has a monotonous job without
Mm.
much of fun activities, which could lead to stress and even depression. What can you suggest to keep a personnel from succumbing to mental stress?
So I assume you are saying this from a work perspective, or would it be at a college level? The answer would be slightly different, not too different, but slightly different for both. But let me answer you from a work-related perspective. Indeed, we understand that work pressures are high, stresses are high, and unfortunately, after the pandemic has set in, there are a lot of personal pressures and stresses as well. Everybody understands that, and as a responsible organization, we are doing a lot to ensure the well-being of our employees, and so there are a lot of activities that are centered around that. Plus we have professionals and experts available with whom the individuals can consult and get some support and help. And so these are all done at institutional or organizational levels. um, at an individual level, we are of course engaging with people more. A lot of communication is taking place one on one between a manager and a team member, for example. just to keep a check on well-being and to ensure that everything is okay. At the slightest sign of a worry, certain measures are being brought in to ensure that the person is has got somebody to go to and some help and support that he or she can look at. So that's number one. On an ongoing basis, and this I'm talking about pre-COVID and definitely again going forward, organizations always have multiple activities that are lined up throughout the year to ensure that there are moments of some fun and other stuff. And I find it very hard when somebody tells me that you're working in a hotel, you must not be having fun. I find that really strange. Because in my entire career, I think working in a hotel in itself is fun. I said that when I was talking about my IHM, it was a lot of fun. I didn't feel the pressure of studies or any such thing, despite the fact that uh, all teachers were looking only at this small group of 35 people, right? So, despite feeling watched, we never felt pressured. Now, why? So, what I'm trying to convey by that is that uh, the industry is very, very dynamic. The industry requires a lot of high energy, high enthusiasm, and a lot of passion and commitment. If you have that, you will not feel stressed, you will not feel tired. If you're forcing yourself, if there's a compulsion, then probably yes, you will not be able to deal with it. So my thing to you is that number one, uh, don't get so stressed, and if you do get stressed, talk to someone, reach out to people, reach out to your mentors, reach out to your friends, family, colleagues, etc. Tell somebody very clearly what you're going through so that somebody can help you. Don't expect others to just know. Nobody can get to know. You will have to tell them that something is happening. And so sharing is the best form of ensuring that somebody does something to you which ensures that your stress levels goes down and you enjoy yourself. But again, as I said, please use this time to do a bit of self introspection, see if this is what excites you and interests you, because this is one industry which you can have endless amount of fun. It's like literally a party all the time. The only difference is that 24/7 you're setting up the party, you're conducting the party, you're cleaning up after the party. The moment that happens, the next cycle kicks in. Setting up, party, cleaning up, setting up, party, cleaning up. So it's just so much more to do, so much more exciting, and so much more nice. So if you're feeling pressurized, I strongly recommend please reach out to someone you believe in and you trust in, uh, and you will be taken care of. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is, as much as the pandemic has already thrown hospitality industry for a loop, it has also opened the door for of new era for digitalization. How can the
Absolutely.
students make themselves digitally ready?
Excellent question. And as I said, use this time, and I really hope the smarter ones would have already done it, I'm sure. Use this time to get comfortable using technology. And by technology, it is not just computers. Read up on technology, read up on different equipments which are based on different technologies and how that applies. Can it get applied? Do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people, industry experts, and or people from different manufacturing units, etc., to get to understand what is it that they are doing. Even something like a cleaning agent, right? Even that would have undergone significant changes or new cleaning agents being introduced in view of virus spread, etc., etc. So the more you read about it, and that's why I said current affairs, the more you read, the more you talk to people, the more resources you go to, the better it is. All of you function out of a smartphone. Most of you have got access to data and internet literally 24/7. Instead of whiling away your time on Snapchat and WhatsApp, use the internet, use your Google to get you a lot of information. Trust me, you will enjoy it. It takes just a little bit of a time. Once you start doing it, you enjoy reading up on different things. So I would again read up about hospitality trends, read up trends in housekeeping, read up trends in marketing, read up trends in food and beverage service, not just in India, internationally, what other people are doing. Go up to other company, international hotel sites, Four Seasons, Mandarin Oriental Peninsula, Ritz Carlton, etc., and find out what is it that these people are doing. Look at different countries. What is the US doing to manage? What is Europe doing to manage the COVID or post COVID scenarios? That is the only way you can enhance yourself. So, in addition to, of course, please do certain courses on Microsoft Office, freely available both in Microsoft and otherwise on the net. Please get your hands really fast on Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and a lot of other technologies, as I've already said. Preeti, you're not audible.
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Hello, yeah, can hear you now.
So, ma'am, my question is
Preeti, not audible. No, I think you're on mute.
Unmute yourself, Preeti.
hello.
Preeti,
Yes,
unmute
we can hear
yourself.
you.
Yeah.
We can hear you now.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask with this pandemic, which has uncertainly has come up, and the hotel industry, who were earlier with different activities on sustainability, how does how is the hotel reacting to all the acts that were been taken care by the industry for sustainability? What is the impact of the crisis on sustainability activities?
So I think, in fact, probably this has given a good opportunity for everyone to look at more sustainable solutions. Uh, and I think all the processes, irrespective of whether it's in a hotel or a related hospitality, setup, I think everybody is looking at solutions that are sustainable and long term. Whether it is so the takeaways with the packaging that is taking place, for example, food takeaways from restaurants. Uh, for those of you who have started to order food from outside, you would have noticed already certain changes taking place in the way the food has been packed from what it used to be pre-COVID times. So again, a positive outcome is that every operator is now looking at how can anything new that I'm introducing or anything enhanced or elevated concept that I'm working on, how will that work out and what are the impacts that it has on the environment and on sustainability? And a lot of, I think, whether it is again in the form of equipment or chemicals or ingredients or anything else that you talk about, definitely the view is on local and looking at what is easily available and something that will continue to be available so that the business is not impacted. So again, a good opportunity or an outcome, if I can use that in the context of COVID.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one more thing that I wanted to ask. Since we were an industry who believed in always giving the guest best, so out the best of the amenities, we exceed them with the luxury and best of the standards we give them. Now, with that, with all the uh, prior amenities that which we used to give them, already the cost of the hotel was affected, for which many of the properties they were dealing with cost controlling part. With the present scenario, however, with the types of precautions that we are taking with mask, with PPE kit, and the sanitizer, along with a different kind of cleaning agent, the cost has definitely has been risen up. So, how are we
Yes.
dealing with the cost controlling part right now?
Again, a very good question. So yes, with overall business profitability being impacted, emphasis is on ensuring that the costs are managed. And so a lot of measures, whether it is from an inventory process or an ordering levels, for example, uh, is being looked at and is being reconsidered. I unfortunately will not be able to share with you the exact figures and the data, etc., as a thumb rule across the industry. Again, because everybody is still evolving. We have just hotels have just started to open up and get normalized. So we'll have to wait for a couple of months before we are able to predict certain kind of trends of what to what extent costs have been impacted and what can be done about it. But you're absolutely right in saying that on one hand, where luxury hotels have not reduced the amenities or facilities that are being provided to our guests, but at the same time, the emphasis on managing costs has definitely increased. We are more prudent, we are more cautious, and there are a lot of controls that have been introduced to ensure that all sorts of wastage is avoided to the extent that we can.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question. With the opening of the hotels, definitely the certain guests they are coming to the hotel to stay and all. But are we restricting them with certain facilities like using of swimming pool, gym, some of the areas where a public gathering has to be there?
Yes. So, indeed, yes, those restrictions are there because we have to comply with the government regulations, and the government policies are formed by people who are well aware and are being guided by larger organizations like the World Health Organization, and they're watching out what is happening across the world and picking up best practices. Uh, Pools, health clubs are all high contact guest areas and hence can be a potential hazard. So, yes, those facilities are still closed. The day we get a notification announcing that they can be opened, we will definitely resume those operations. But all guests are informed. At the time of reservation, guests are very clearly, as it is, everybody knows, but we make it a point to inform our guests that certain areas of the hotel will be restricted.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a question here. Are there any methods or ideas being taken care of during this pandemic for making a hotel a smart hotel, which will be an easier task for our guests as well as the workers?
Yes, so there are ideas and there are concepts, and the people who are working on it. Uh, but you must understand, as I said earlier, also when it comes to the five-star luxury segment, which caters to both corporates or to the leisure clients, um, we still believe in personalization. So when you talk about a smart hotel concept, if you're talking about completely contactless and technology driven and so on and so forth, not uh, not yet fully done, or I don't see it happening in the near future for the segment that I am talking about. But for any other, let's say even a standalone restaurant, will it be a reality of very soon? You never know, because people are researching, people are working on it. We've already seen robots being employed in a couple of restaurants across the country with great success. So, will it become the norm? Probably, but that depends on what your definition of a smart hotel is all about. But what the luxury segment is doing is blending in personalization and technology and customizing it to ensure that you have a good mix of both the worlds. So, again, if you read up on latest technological trends impacting hospitality, you'll come across huge amounts of information.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, can we say that the standard operating procedure, which the hotel has been dealing with a couple of years, that is that all those things we are changing now with seeing the current situation?
No, so as I said, standard operating procedures have not changed, they've only enhanced, they've only become better. And they've become better because you need to ensure that you are also complying with certain protocols, which both from a legal perspective and a health perspective is now essential to be done. So have we have we thrown out all the SOPs and brought in a new set of SOPs? The answer is no. We've taken the SOPs that existed and seen what are the touch points and what needs to be done about it, and added value to it. So there's no point trying
Thank
to
you, ma'am.
redo a process that's going really well. There is no point trying to redo that.
And one more question. Uh, for from the perspective of an employee, we are definitely taking certain steps in order to see their health concern also. So when they're coming to the hotel and they're going to their staff room is generally a place where they all meet up and then they groom up themselves and then report on their duties. So what measures
Yes.
are we following in that area?
So, as I said, at the time of coming in, everybody is being checked to ensure that they are healthy. The use of Arogya Setu, for example, is mandatory. So we know that the person who's coming in is hale and hearty, and we're not having. You can't have a group of people reporting to work at the same time. So there are staggered times now to ensure that facilities like the cafeteria and the locker rooms, etc., are not crowded. So we are staggering break timings, we are staggering arrival and exit times. So all those measures are being done to ensure that no place is crowded, both back of the house and front of the house.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, what are the steps are we taking in order to see the purchasing of the food and the beverage items or any of the accessories that we are getting? All those are properly cleaned and then we get inside the property.
So again, where good establishments are concerned, we were any which way complying with all the regulatory requirements for operating a food unit. So from sanitizing, for example, sanitizing a cutting chopping board to cleaning, washing, sanitizing vegetables, all of that was any which way being done. What we are now doing is additions like introducing, for example, like a bio waste dustbin in the kitchen, which was not there earlier in terms of people to dispose used gloves or masks, etc. So for things like that, those have been introduced. But where food hygiene and safety standards are concerned, we are continuing to introduce or work on all the lines that are already given as a part of regulations in order to comply for your license. And as I said, wiping of your workstations, cleaning up of the washing of the floor, etc., is being done far more regularly and far more rigorously than they were being done earlier.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one last question. What business strategies are the hotels applying in the sales and marketing department in order to gain more business?
Again, a very relevant question, but something that I will not be able to answer for the simple reason that strategies are still being formulated. People are still trying to get some sense of uh, how this has evolved and how it has impacted the entire industry. And in the absence of any kind of a trend, when you've got to do, a blind forecast, obviously all strategy and all plans have to be worked and reworked and looked at very, very carefully and in detail. And every organization has its own, uh, you know, parameters, the way they view the success and the profitability of their business setup. And so there is no standardized strategic plan that is being done, but you would have probably read of various forums that have been conducted, whether it's with the FHRAI, HAI, or others, with the ministry or other policymakers, where the, the outcomes and the impact on the industry has been discussed, and what can be done to revive travel and tourism in the broader sense to a larger extent has been discussed and has been brought up. So we'll have to wait for the government, notifications and action points to come in before independent hotels can or businesses can start to take an action.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, any message that you want to give to the present third year students or the last year students for the interviews?
As I said, get your focus right. Please do not get distracted by all that is happening. A day will come when all this will be behind you, and you will look back and say, why did I while away my 6 months watching Netflix? I could have done something better. So please do something better. This is the opportunity that you have in order to acquire knowledge. Talk to people. Talk. Nobody in today's time is going to say, no, I will not talk to you. Everybody is helping each other out. So talk to people you know, reach out through people you know to other people, get a better understanding of the industry and the job. Try and see what are the trends that are coming up, what that can be implemented and that are feasible, so that you're also contributing. And do remember one thing, that uh, when businesses start, when your training will resume, when you get back to the hotels, you have to be willing to be a great contributor. Bring in a lot of positivity, bring in a lot of hard work, because these are times where we have seen it's easy to be in either two extreme. You can be hopelessly optimistic or you can be absolutely negative. We don't want negativity. Everybody is dealing with enough of it in their own lives. So at work, we need that positive energy and that happiness and that enthusiasm to contribute to the work on that given day. So be prepared, prepare yourself, bring up that resilience, bring up that stamina and the fitness, because being at home, you're probably not exercising, not exerting yourself too much. So having the physical fitness is also very, very essential. So plan yourself. You still have probably, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe about a month to go. So use this time to get yourself back on track, but mentally, just get yourself focused. And I'm sure you will look back to these few months as the most as the biggest learning phase in your life, and you'll have many a good story to narrate to your future generations. So I would like to wish each one of you the very, very best. And one last thing, and this I'm saying purely from a trainer teacher perspective to all the students, trust me, the teaching community has worked doubly hard during this pandemic. From a face to face interaction, converting all their teaching learning onto a digital format is not easy. And I've interacted with so many colleges, schools, etc., that I can tell you that teachers are sweating it out at 2 or 3 in the night to ensure that what comes to you in the morning is of a really good quality and a good standard. So please pay attention to your classes. Please ask questions, engage with your teachers, trainers, because they're spending phenomenal time in setting things up for you. And when it is time, do volunteer, take the initiative to add value to what they're doing, help them prepare a few materials so that they can work with it as well. And you will find that it's a great learning. When you prepare something to teach, you learn so much more. So I just would urge you all to please take your learning and very, very seriously. And the time that you're spending on the net with your teachers, use that productively to your benefit. Okay? So those are a few things that I would leave you all with, and wish every one of you the very best in the future.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was indeed a very enlightening session. I will now pass on to Usha ma'am to come up with the vote of thanks. Over to you,
Uh,
ma'am.
Before I could speak, Preeti, I think you should let Principal Ma'am speak something to the students and
Sure, ma'am.
to Sangeeta Ma'am also. Then I will
Definitely,
conclude.
definitely. Shada ma'am, can we
Yeah,
please have
ma'am,
a
I have already spoken. I have done the initial welcoming. So you could actually take over from me and thank Sangeeta for being with us today. And I
thank
thank you for coordinating this entire session. Thank you, Preeti. That was a very well coordinated session.
thank you,
Usha
ma'am.
ma'am, over to you.
Okay. Uh, I should thank the students for the day, for this time. Good evening, all. And whatever mantras Sangeeta ma'am has today spoken flawlessly for 1 hour 34 minutes. I have the time also. So I'm sure all of you are sitting with your notebooks in front. If you have written down the advices, whatever she has told to the students, I strongly believe some of you will definitely make it to OCLD. Now, coming to the main topic, COVID. COVID, post-COVID operations or SOP with a hotel industry. What we have come across many chains, many properties, and we have already passed it on to all our learners as well. So, students, whatever the part whatever Sangeeta ma'am has told you all, the last line, let me emphasize on those, like better usage of this post COVID, like during the COVID lockdown, the effects of lockdown, if you utilize in a better manner, I'm sure all of you will get it done. Whatever your passion, whatever your focus, whatever your objective is. Now, coming to Preeti, thank you so much. You had presented all the questions so nicely. And
Thank you, ma'am.
Sangeeta ma'am, let me tell you, you have answered flawlessly for
Thank you.
so long, 1 hour, 35 minutes.
I didn't realize
So
the time till you told me about it.
I could see in my mobile, and it was wonderful to hear you. So nicely you have explained about getting into the OCLD, and I'm sure this will be very much useful to all our students. And the present sixth semester students, I'm sure you all are listening. Please keep in your mind whatever points she has told, and meticulously she has emphasized the points which she has told, even I have written down, so that if I take your sessions, the revision classes in housekeeping, I will definitely emphasize once again for you all if you have not noted down. Thank you, Sangeeta. Thanks a lot.
Look,
Thank
thank
you,
you so
Preeti.
much once again.
Thank you,
Thanks
ma'am.
to everyone. Preeti for the beautiful coordination. Absolutely
Thank you, ma'am.
correctly said that, it was very, very smooth and seamless. Usha ma'am for reaching out to me, and to Sharda, of course. Thank you so much for, considering me for this kind of a webinar. I didn't realize the time till you told me it's 1 hour, 34 minutes. But the best part is that when I was blocking my calendar, somebody had asked for a time earlier at 4 o'clock. I said no. I have a session with IHM Bhubaneswar, and so I don't want to put a time limit out there. So as I'm very, very happy that I hope I have been able to add value and that the students will take away something from today's session. But truly privileged and honored to be giving it back to my college, to my alma mater. IHM Bhubaneswar is a beautiful college, wonderful college, and some fantastic teachers out there. So please convey my warm regards to every one of them, and thank you so much for
Definitely.
giving me this opportunity.
Definitely. We will.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you so
Thank you,
much.
Thank
ma'am.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Namaskar. Thank you so much, Sangeeta. Hope to see you in college soon.
Soon, absolutely. Absolutely. Post COVID, definitely. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Take
Thank you,
care, all
ma'am.
of you. Take care. Look after
Take
yourselves.
care. Be safe.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.